bush. So you want me to wait for the beat to drop?
Gotta give it a little bit, yeah.
Okay, hold on. Sit back here. Just kind of want to get up and dance. On today's Farm for Fun show, we travel a long, long ways to a past guest and tremendous friend of the podcast. This man is an OG of TikTok and a fantastic supporter of all things agriculture. He spent a larger chunk of his summer here in the States traveling, touring farms and ag businesses, hanging out with friends, and almost single-handedly drinking Busch Light out of John Deere beer. Recently, he has been dealing with some terribly moist conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, my best Australian friend, Mr. Andrew Uphill, a.k.a. Uppy. Yes!
All right!
Hey, fellas. Hey, what's going on?
It is a Monday here. It's Tuesday there. It's great. It's raining here, just like you've experienced quite a bit of, which we actually need the rain. How's it going, Uppy?
Going well, mate. Going well, thank you. Yeah, well, 9:30 Tuesday morning here, so I'm on coffee, not on beer. But we actually had half an inch of rain last night, which is believe it or not, has actually helped. So we're just cleaning up. I've been on the cleaner all morning. The water's finally dropped enough so I can clean the mud out of the garage, and I still can't put the house out yet. But I'm going well. How about you, blokes?
We're good. We're good. We got a little rain delay, so Corey can not worry about chasing the corn out of the field.
Yeah, we've harvested for almost a month straight with no breaks. So,
yeah, right. We should be harvesting now. This is normally our time of year where we start our winter harvest over here, our winter crop. So we would normally be on barley, harvesting barley, wheat, chickpeas, canola. But that's pretty much probably going to end up out in the ocean down in South Australia somewhere at the moment. The water's gone right through a lot of these crops. I wish we were harvesting. I really do wish I was sitting on a header right now, not on a pressure cleaner.
Okay, so for the listeners that don't follow your TikTok account, can you explain, one, where you're from, and two, what's going on there right now?
Okay, so I'm from a little town called Moree, which is in northwest New South Wales in Australia. So I'm 9 hours inland, 9 hours northwest of Sydney and 6 hours southwest of Brisbane on the east coast. We've just been through some major flooding here. It's not the biggest flood we've had, luckily. They were predicting that we were going to get absolutely wiped away. So it pretty much started raining November last year during harvest, and we're just continually sort of 10, 15-day rain cycle patterns. But last week we had a major rain event where we got between 160 and 280 mils. So that's 150, so like 6 inches to 11 inches of rain in 5 hours.
Jeez.
Now, it's the heaviest rain I've ever seen in my life, and it just bucketed down. 1:30 in the morning, absolutely bucketed down. Yeah, so where I am, our ag out here, we're predominantly broadacre, large-scale broadacre farming, dry land, and also irrigation. Like I said, at the moment, we're supposed to be harvesting our winter crop and planting our cotton. So our this is our cotton window for planting cotton, our sorghum. Some cotton's gone in. Some cotton is no longer there. Some sorghum's gone in. So we're looking at massive losses this year. Some people are saying 90% of their farm is written off. There's no crop. Sorghum out there. So I was talking to James. We've got cattle standing in water up to their bellies and have been there for 3 or 4 days now. So there's probably going to be a helicopter in to try and push those out somewhere. But like James said, there's nowhere to push them. Everything's underwater. So all you can do is just hope they don't fall over and they can hang in there. So, yeah, so that's what's happening here at the moment. We're pretty wet, pretty moist.
So, like Corey said, moist. How big of an area is this that is that wet?
We're probably talking, in my valley, in the Guida Valley, we're looking at a couple of million acres.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's not just a little creek out of its banks.
No.
No. So the town where I live in, so I live in town, not at the farm. we're on an island, so we've got the Mihai River runs south of the town, and the Guida River runs north of the town. So they split just east of town, and then they join back up the west of town. Well, normally they don't join back up, but a flood like this they do. So we're in the valley, but we've had this now. We've got people who have been putting up levee banks and moving dirt and trying to protect their crop for the last 13, 14 days. So they're on excavators and dozers. It's been a long, hard battle for a lot of people. I spoke to a few mates last night, and they're going okay, but you can just hear in their voice, they're just starting to struggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've been through this before. I remember, what was it, 2020 or early 21 that you guys had a pretty good flood?
Yeah, so March 21, so March last year, we had a good flood then. It was nothing like this. It was smaller than this one. So our last biggest flood, and the biggest flood I've been through here in town, I've been here 21 years, was 2012. So 2012 was waist deep on me, and you blokes know me, I'm 6'6", so that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
It didn't quite get to that this year, this flood. Normally we're sort of that 8 to 10 year rotation, but we've just had 2 in 2 years. So it's not nice, but we live in a floodplain, so that's what happens. We get flooded, we clean up, and we move forward, and we go again.
So about how long do you think, if you don't get any more rain or any more rain up river, do you think it'll take for everything to go down?
In town, hopefully by tonight, it'll be, so it's, say, 8 hours for the town to actually drop. But then all west of us, I've talked to some people yesterday, and it's still rising, and it's not, and it's rising not far out of town. So this is going to take a long time. We're probably, by the time it clears out, I'm going to say a week to 10 days before everyone sort of starts to know what's happening and what we can do going forward.
So by the time this comes out, since we stopped in the middle of harvest to record this, it's going to be about a month later. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but just to give the listeners perspective, we're talking the 24th and 25th of October for when this had happened. And how long have you been dealing with the flooding? Did it just happen last Friday? I can't remember when it started.
Wednesday night, the river started to come out of its banks on Wednesday night last week, so Tuesday for you. And then Thursday, it's sort of, the thing with this flood is it was slow. It was so slow coming, and it set records upstream. A couple of mates upstream of here, east of us, had to get evacuated. Now, they're third generation on those farms, and they have never had water inside the levee bank, and it just went straight over the top of it. So it set new records in places. Last Thursday, Friday is when we copped it here, and then Saturday it came into town. And so we've sort of been 3 or 4 days now trouncing around in water.
Jeez. And I could tell in your voice, like Corey said in your intro, we got to spend quite a bit of time together this summer, which was a blast. But knowing your personality and how much you care about everybody else, I could hear it in your voice that it's tough on people. This is probably more difficult than some are prepared to deal with.
Yeah, it is. It really is going to be tough on people. Talking to people is one of the things that we're just going to keep talking to each other. We'll get through it. We will. But just to see the loss, so much time, effort, funding, money has gone into this crop. And, we're looking at 12 months now before there's more income. And that not only affects the farmers who don't have any income, but that's going to affect the town. So your little retail shop in town, your grocery shops. Groceries, you still need to buy food. But your little retail shop in the corner that sells plates and cups and knives and little nice things for the wives, they're going to find this really hard, because if you break a coffee cup, you just get another one out of the cupboard. You're not going to drive to town and go and buy another coffee cup. So as we're in a normal year, you'd be in town and go, I like that cup, I might go and buy one. So this is really going to affect the whole town, the whole community. And one of the things is the farmers in this valley are huge supporters of our local community. So the local schools, the sporting clubs, that sort of stuff, and they donate a lot of money. That's not going to happen now because they're not going to have the money. So yeah, it's going to affect the whole town in a big way. But talking to some mates, like I said, you can hear it in their voice that they're struggling.
Is there a safety net there with crop insurance in Australia like we have in the United States?
So that's an interesting one. And we spoke about this on Bushels and Barrels podcast, and when I did the Cotton Mafia one the other day. We have to buy our insurance, so we don't have anything. So there'll be a government handout. The government will do something here and do a government handout, or they'll do what they can to help. Normally, after something like this, they'll do a low interest loan. So the government will tell the banks they have to set up a low interest loan, or the government itself will do a low interest loan. Now they'll cap that how much you can get, and it'll be asset based, which means that we won't get any money anyway. So the government will look like they're trying to do something, but they won't be. Now, our insurance, so we have to actually pay for our insurance. We don't get any government insurance. We don't get any subsidies. We get a fuel levy, which is a few cents off farm use diesel. Everything else we pay for. So we can get insurance, but if you want to insure for flood, that's expensive. So we have to pay for our insurance. We get an insurance broker, and she goes and works out the best insurance company that we're going to go with. And you just have to choose and say, okay, I'm going to insure half the farm this year, which could be $30,000, $40,000. I'm going to pay for that and hope that the other half of the farm doesn't get hailed out. And I'm going to buy hail insurance. If you want flood insurance, you've got to pay for that. So if you went and ticked all the boxes, say for on an average size farm, let's say 7,000 acres, if you ticked all the boxes, you'd be like a couple $100,000 to pay for insurance.
Oof. I know. I mean, it can get expensive here, and we even have subsidies, but it can get a couple $100,000. I bet for a 7,000 acre farm.
Right.
I mean, we're slightly under 2,000 acres, and I know it can be almost 100,000 for stuff, depending on what you get for stuff. But man, hopefully, guys get through it. It's a good time to touch on what you talked about when you were here in the States, the mental health. What was your guys' campaign? It's like call your mate?
Call a mate.
Call a mate, yeah.
Call your mate. And that's a big thing. Just we're still pushing that. And also the 6 Bs. So the blokes, bullshit, bonfires, beers and bonding is what we're pushing. We lost another one last week. It got to him. Yeah, so we just need to keep talking. And it's probably also the people you don't think, the ones you look at and think, geez, they're bloody strong, they're doing this and that. It's surprising the people who actually get affected by it. So we've got, actually on Friday night, I got a message last night, a bloke on TikTok sent me a message. They're having a catch-up with a heap of blokes and beers or anybody on Friday night, about an hour and a half east of here. And he sent me a message and said, hey, Uppy, can you come over and have a chat with us? And I said, no problem, I'll go. Oops. Yeah, so it is a big thing. And call your mate, and 6 Bs is what we're pushing hard. We're just trying to make sure we get everybody through the flood, through harvest, and go again.
We had our scarcity mindset show come out last week, which we didn't know how that was going to be perceived, how it was going to be received, and what people thought with Pastor Ashley and the mindset of thinking in abundance rather than scarcity. And the amount of feedback that we've received from our listeners, the number of emails, the outpouring of thanks for putting something like that together. It's not easy in a time of flood. I've never had to experience. Well, that's not true. I was in the Des Moines area during the flood of, 2008? Yeah. And that was a lot of water, but it wasn't anything like you're describing, to where it's hard to have an abundant mindset. It's hard to have a positive attitude when you look around and all you see is muddy water.
Yeah, it is. And it's like I said, I've been doing lives every 2 hours, just trying to keep people updated. And so just getting some information out there, because that's one of the things that people, and as you know, people strive on information. If the more information you can give people, the more informed they are. And I've had a lot of people saying, how can you be so positive? I'm walking around in waist-deep water, showing people streets and things and where the water's up to and keeping updated. How can you be so positive? if you don't laugh, you cry, and if you're crying, that's not good for your head.
Yep.
So, but everyone does need sometimes. We'll sit down, and I'm sure you all do it. We'll sit down and have a good cry. Doesn't hurt occasionally just to get it out of the system and go again.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you consistently for the last 3 or 4 days, and this I'm just talking about in town, I haven't been able to get out of town anywhere yet. I did go for a quick lap in the chopper and have a look, and I just went, put me down. The people who have been stranded on farm now for 10 and 12 days and haven't been able to get off the farm and get to town, they're the ones who are going to be really struggling. Like you walk out of your house every day and you've got a levee bank around your house, so you're going to have like a little half-acre block where you've been living for 10 days. You imagine sitting inside a levee bank of half acre or an acre block for the last 10 days and just watching the water go past your house. It's tough. It really is. And watching crop disappear. I saw some of the mates have put stuff on Twitter and on their Instagram reels and things, and they're in excavators trying their absolute most to defend their crop, and then you see the bank break and the whole lot's gone.
Oh, I can't imagine. I imagine, though, that you doing your lives every 2 hours probably helps a lot of people, because sometimes just to see someone else going through some of the same struggles and that it's not just you going through it alone, it's gotta help mentally, even if it doesn't feel like that at the time. I bet they look back and they say that it did.
Yeah, I think so. So right at the moment we've got, so where I'm, like Moree, northwest New South Wales, Echuca, which is down on the north, I'd say the very south of New South Wales. It's the border, New South Wales and Victoria. They're flooding down there. They're getting absolutely hammered down there in town. There's one town that's a complete write-off. And those people have been on the lives, and they're like Uppy, and they've been, cool, showing, like talking about how much water they've got and what we've got. And that's for them to be joining and saying thanks for the updates, the same as them doing it down there. Lismore, Lismore is 6 hours to the east of me, so they're on the coast, well, just off the coast, so they're over the other side of the Great Dividing Range. They've just got evacuation orders last night for the 4th time this year. I feel sorry for those people. There's houses over there, double-storey houses that went underwater. It was that hard. It took houses away, and now they've just been evacuated again. So this whole East Coast weather front at the moment, it's a bit scary. There's some flooding up in Queensland also, but yeah, I must be 400 years old because I've just been through 4 1 in 100 weather events.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the fact that it hasn't been that bad in the last 100 years, and you've got a couple of them under your belt just in one calendar year. Yeah.
So, and on the lives, I've really stayed positive, and I think I might have one little moment. But staying positive for people, because, like I said, they've got friends and family out here, and they want to know. There are actually people have been asking me, can you walk to this street? Can you show us this street? That's where my mum lives, or that's where I grew up, things like that. And it's been really good. It's been good fun. One stage we had 3,500 people on there for an hour.
Wow.
And that was pretty cool. That was really hard, actually. Normally when I do a live, I'm sitting down doing nothing or something on a tractor or something, and you get 50 people, and it's pretty cool. But the amount of comments, you just can't keep up.
Right.
And I just had to keep saying to people, just repeat your comment, please repeat it, because I just can't see it. It was continuously scrolling on the screen. But and I've got a lot of people who've sent me, obviously we can't DM on here if you're not friends, but on my other socials, they've sent me messages and found me tracking out on that and sent me messages saying thank you. So it's only a little thing, and I enjoy talking to people. So it's only a small thing, but people appreciate it.
Well, and it's a distraction for you, too. It's helping your mental health, and there's probably a rewarding feeling that comes along with it, too.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, definitely. Sitting there by yourself, I think, is one of the things that you can pull back into a shell, and some people have done this, and they just pull back into themselves, don't communicate, sit there by themselves, and that's one of the worst things that they can do. I could have very easily gone into a deep depression sitting there watching 3 foot of water under my house for 4 days, but I didn't. You get out there, talk to people. Now, I know a lot of people aren't as outgoing, like as you blokes know me in person, so on the life of the party. But you can quite easily just slip back into a bit of a hole, and once you get into that, it's hard to get out of. I can personally say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially too if you get into the booze like we're about ready to get into on this show. That's a hard hole to dig back out of. So, Uppy, can you get Werther's original candies in Australia? Werther's. Have you ever heard of the butterscotch candy?
Oh, we have butterscotch candy here. Yeah. They're the little round ones in a wrapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got those down here.
So I took those hard candies, put them in a blender, and then heated up the powder with vodka. And now we have some Werther's flavored vodka.
Oh, really?
So we're going to try this. Corey's never tried it yet.
No, I haven't tried it yet.
What? Describe the color of it for those not watching.
It looks like the floodwaters in Australia.
It's unintentional, but it does.
Australian floodwater.
All right.
Is this what you put on Twitter this morning?
I don't think I put it out there.
No, we haven't put this out yet.
No, this is a new one. This one will come out. All right.
This is crappy vodka mixed with Werther's original.
Yes.
Infused. So this is just it. No, not mixed with anything else. Oh my gosh, it tastes just like a Werther's with a little heat.
I was going to say, it's got a kick. It's got a little burn to it.
The vodka is definitely more there than your Atomic Fireball vodka. Yep.
But this is still very good.
It's smooth. I'm not a huge butterscotch guy, but it's smooth.
You're not? See, for me, like, Uppy, if I go get a malt or a shake at an ice cream shop, I love getting a butterscotch malt. That's like my go-to.
Butterscotch malt?
Yeah.
Like a Butterfinger? Is that butterscotch?
No. Butterfinger's got the wafer. I don't even like Butterfingers.
I like Butterfingers.
But yeah, get a butterscotch flavored malt. Not a chocolate malt, not a caramel malt. I like getting a butterscotch.
I've drunk a fair bit of butterscotch schnapps in my time.
Oh yeah, actually, this kind of reminds me a little bit of a butterscotch schnapps.
Oh yeah, that's probably more what it is. Okay,
that's a good call.
So yeah, Tanner was sending me Snapchats over the weekend, making this stuff up, and I'm just slaving away out at Harvest. Like, must be nice. And you said what?
Yeah.
Got to annoy the wife somehow.
Yeah, I got to make her mad because all the dishes I made just to make a small bottle of weird vodka.
I used to make, root beer schnapps.
Really?
Yep.
I like root beer too.
With Everclear. Essentially, you'd take one bottle of Everclear and like 10 cups of sugar and then root beer extract. And by the time you cooked it all through, you had 4 bottles. So basically a quarter of Everclear in each one. Woo, that stuff would turn you upside down.
That reminds me of when we used to make apple pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't need a lot of these drinks that involved Everclear, Uppy. You'd be sitting down taking a time out if you had too much of that.
Yep.
Everclear. Is that what you call it?
Everclear.
Everclear would be like just straight grain alcohol. It used to be like basically what you produce for like ethanol or I guess what would you call white lightning?
Moonshine.
Moonshine.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'll have to have a crack at that next time.
It used to be 190 proof, and now they throttled it back to 150 or 160, so it's not the same.
Yeah, but it's not much different.
Remind us again, what are the drinks? What are the popular drinks in Australia?
So beer, and I actually got a couple of cans for you boys. I'll send them across to you. So it's called 4X Gold is one of the most popular beers, or the Great Northern. So Great Northern is a beer that came in the market a couple of years ago and took over the market pretty much. Now, if anyone's familiar with golf, we had a really good golfer, actually a world champion golfer out here called Greg Norman.
Yep.
And so we've nicknamed the Great Northern can. We've nicknamed that Greg Norman. So that's the 2 most popular beers. And rum. A fair bit of rum gets drunk. So Bundaberg rum is made here in Australia. And, vodka. It just depends, but mostly beer. It's the same as there. We're a big beer drinking country, so so anytime you want to send me another carton of Bush Light, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I saw you just drank your last John Deere Bush Light.
I don't know if you can see the new cans.
They're camo.
Oh yeah,
It's hunting season.
Get it? Don't know if you can see the new Oh, did I really have to explain that? Yeah.
So I tweeted at Dahl Distributing, who we're sponsored by Bush Light, and then Dahl Distributing actually brings us the beer.
Yep.
And we haven't got our shipment yet for that.
Yeah, we gotta get
They're
on
supposed
that.
to be doing that. But hopefully we can get a care package sent over for you. That'd be kind of cool.
Tito's also.
Yeah.
Run out of Tito's, and but Kimmy Burkhardt, God bless her soul, went the other day when her and Mike went across to see the grandchild, stopped at some vodka place, and they reckon that the vodka they tried is apparently better than Tito's. So Kimmy, God bless her, love her to death. She's got a bottle in the mail to me, so looking forward to getting that and trying it.
Oh man, that'll be exciting.
Oh, got to change the battery.
Yeah, I can do it.
Got it. What's the preferred way to ship booze over there? I mean, because we have issues shipping booze here just within the state.
Just to put it in the mail, I think is
Just don't tell
Well,
them.
that's how just don't declare it. That's how it turns up. Just put it in the mail and send it.
One of the first episodes we did, we tried getting beer up to Canada, and it got confiscated at the border.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, right. I had no hassles coming home. As you know, I brought a carton of Bush Light back with me, John Deere cans back with me.
Yep.
Crazy thing. I'll tell you something crazy. So we had our cotton dinner. So every year we have an awards night where we do the awards to the grower, the best yields, things like that.
Yep.
So I donated 2 John Deere Bush Light cans because obviously we don't have that out here.
Yep.
The day that you took me, and I'm very thankful, I will be forever, that you took us to Mike and I to the IndyCar. I brought one of the hand towels, the Bush Light hand towels that we got that day home.
Yep.
So we put those 2 cans in a Bush Light hand towel and a John Deere Bush Light stubby cold holder, koozie, whatever you want to call it, Huggy, in a little box, and it sold for $1,400. We auctioned it off, and $1,400.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
Yeah. So, and that money goes to charity. So that night, and this is what I'll tell you, I was talking about our community and our farmers. So that dinner, we had 104 people at the dinner, and we raised $42,000 that night for local schools and the Westpac Rescue Helicopter, which is a helicopter it's our rescue helicopter. So if we need someone to be flown out or there's an injury, that's the helicopter that flies out, picks you up or winches you or whatever. So that's going to be hard now because we're not going to have this crop. So that money that we raised that night is going to be interesting to see what happens next year because we don't have that cotton crop this year. But, because of John Deere brand, that's how much money it went for.
See, look at the small thing. A couple cans of John Deere Bush Light and a towel, a cheap towel that they were basically giving away. They were giving away at the IndyCar race. We should have shipped a pallet of beer or a container of beer and towels over there, you know.
Right now, I mean, it sounds like now if you had the prizes, that's not the issue. It's going to be the funding to buy the prizes for those that want to support it. It's just going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. I know we keep coming back to the sad part of this show, but it's just reality.
Let's switch it. You mentioned you were here this summer. What were you doing here? And you were here for a while.
Yes, I was there for almost a month. Obviously, I gate crashed a wedding, which was
Clinton Naomi's. Yep.
That was a big job keeping that a secret. So pretty much Mike and Kim Burkhardt. I stayed with Mike and Kim Burkhardt most of the time, or pretty much all the time, and they're fantastic people and really look after me. So we kept that quiet, and it was only a couple of days before the wedding. About 3 or 4 people found out that I was coming. I had meetings with suppliers. So Banjo, the fittings, everyone uses. I think you'll be familiar with Banjo fittings. So I had meetings with them, another company who I'll be looking to import some product from. So I had meetings with those. So I worked those meetings around the wedding. So I was right, that's the day of the wedding. Let's put the meetings after that. So I had that. I had a bit of work on. Had some other stuff to do actually. So I spent majority of my time in Indiana with Mike and Kim, and then so Indianapolis was, and around Indianapolis was where most of the work was. So Janae and I spent a day up there cruising around, having meetings and doing that. But it was also the Travis Burkhart Golf Foundation Day. So it all sort of fitted in those 3.5, almost 4 weeks. Everything fitted into that nice little block. So that's why I went across. But also spent some time with some agronomists looking at corn. I haven't grown corn out here now since 2007. So it was nice to actually go and have a look at the corn again and learn a bit more about it. But, yeah, just pretty much catching up with people and had a bit of work to do.
Yep. And you spent the day with us after the wedding, which was a little rough. It was a little rough, but we were up at the IndyCar race in Iowa, and we were in the Busch Light hospitality tent, and Miles was there that day, right? You Betcha guy.
Yes.
Yep. So we got
to meet him, got a selfie with him. He's a great bloke. He was a champion.
It was kind of cool seeing him walk. Like, so I told Tanner when we walked in, I'm like, boy, I don't know that I'm going to drink as much as I did the day before, because we were up there at the race the day of the wedding, and then we came down for the reception. And so that was a long marathon of a day. And then we get up there, and we walk into the hospitality tent, and we're like the second people there. Actually, it's just we're the first people there.
We were
it's
the
just
first
us
people there.
and then the attendant. And I'm like, I better grab a water. And then Miles, is it Miles or? Yeah, it's Miles, the You Betcha guy, walks in right behind us with his entourage of like 6 or 7 guys, and they all crack a beer, and like ultimate peer pressure of like,
he's not going to talk to me if I don't have a beer.
I guess we better have a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning after I'm hungover. But I tell you what, it was the best thing for me that day.
That did help because we stopped by at that little cafe in whatever town that was, and had a nice breakfast.
Sigourney?
Was it in Sigourney?
Yeah. Oh, that was a good breakfast.
Had a good breakfast to try and sop up some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good day. I actually, and you might have seen my video before it got taken down, Miles is actually, when I was talking to him, because obviously they picked up my accent and I was chatting away to him a bit, so I airdropped him that video when I caught that kangaroo by the tail that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he was talking about it because he said on the podcast they were talking about kangaroos and things, and someone said you can catch them and fight them, and so I showed him that, and he's like, oh, man, can I use that? So apparently he's going to use that, but he has to get it approved first through, obviously, Busch Light, or through Bush, but, yeah, really nice bloke. And I tell you what, I think he enjoyed there, just put the earplugs in for a bit and not having to have everyone, all his entourage around him.
Yep.
So I tell you, that was one of those battles that Corey and I had. Like I said, we got there early. We were sitting there and, this is the perfect opportunity. We could go take a picture with him. We could go pick his brain.
Yep.
But you also know, with a little bit of perspective, that the dude probably is going to get bombarded the entire day. This is probably his only silent time. So sit back. So I think we sat at the table, just you and me, creepily watching the interactions of him and his entourage for 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah. We're just going, we weren't watching, just going about ours and just, noticing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was like they walked in and like 2 or 3 of the guys just went off on their own. And then 2 or 3 of them stayed around him.
Yeah. And I think the most fun part for me was I did get to sit down next to him, and the conversation was not about, oh my God, you're so famous. The conversation was about how they were recording their TikToks and what they were doing to grab clips out of their podcast segments to put onto TikTok. And lo and behold, now we've got a TikTok for the podcast.
And a YouTube.
So. Yeah, and that's what I had a chat to him there. We'll sit there having a beer, and I've said about when he does a post, like it said he can take 3, 4, 5 days to get that post approved and put up. And you think about that, you think, like my post, I do what I like. I do my own social media on all platforms. I can do a post, go and bang, hit hits post and it's up there. Imagine having to do a post and then wait 3 or 4 days for it to be approved and put online.
You might miss it. You might miss a trend. You might miss a challenge.
Yep, exactly. Like that what's just happened has passed because it moves so fast.
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that part of it.
No, I didn't hear that either. So that's definitely interesting.
Yep. So it's got to go through the people above him, and sometimes they'll send it back and say, "This is what he was saying." We're chatting away, and that they'll back and say, "Change this or do that," or he said, "Yeah, it's usually 4 to 5 days before doing the post being put online."
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep. So no, that was a pretty cool weekend. I know that's one that I will remember that to the day I die. That weekend, probably that day. Just all the interactions, the cool stuff that we got to do all weekend at the IndyCar race, then go down and see all of our friends from TikTok at Clint and Naomi's wedding.
That wedding was so cool. I mean, Naomi, well, both Clint and Naomi are fantastic people, but Naomi's got such beautiful perspective. Mm-hmm. And she said, half the people here we didn't know 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. And you could see that too at the wedding. There was like a divide of like, oh, those are the TikTok people over there.
We were late. We were damn near late.
Yeah.
But who gets on a plane and flies halfway around the world for someone they've met on a stupid Chinese kids app?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Uppy does. That's who does.
Speaking of that, when are you coming back?
February at this stage. That's the plan. We'll see what happens. So, and Corey, we've spoken about this. So I've had a change out here with work. So I've actually gone back out on my own. I've closed down the retail business. So for those people who don't know what I do, not only farming, but we also had I've got a spray shop where we sell spray parts and service spray rigs and things like that. So Miller Nitros and that sort of stuff, Banjo products, pumps. The staffing issues out here, I've had enough. And this is one of the reasons why in the States I was staying with Mike and Kim so much, apart from the fact that they're great people, they offered it. I used Mike as a platform, and him and I spent a fair bit of time together, obviously. So we did the wedding and then the IndyCar the next day, that weekend. Then we were at Kenzie, so we had a day at Kenzie at the factory. And I used Mike as a bit of a platform to bounce a few things off. And I made a decision actually over there that I'm going to close the shop and go back farming. We can't get staff. And this is exactly, I made a comment on Bales Hay on his TikTok last night. He's begging for staff also down in Arizona. And I said, well, you take an Aussie farmer because we're flooded. So we cannot get staff here. The staff, and I was talking to one of the owners of the big Case IH dealer here, and he said there's this whole the younger generation who have just left school as COVID hit. So they call it, I can't remember exactly what he called it, but it's like a pandemic generation. They're not used to actually having to work 8 hours a day and be in an office and interact with people because they've been sitting at home and they're in their own house or whatever on their lounge or wear their pajamas all day. That generation doesn't know how to actually now interact or do, not all of them, but majority of them, or actually go and do the job. And so they're actually getting paid to sit at home and do nothing. The government's paying too much money. And our new government, so we have what's called job seeker out here, which means if you get a job seeker payment from the government. So if you're seeking to find a job, you get paid while you don't have a job. They're paying too much money. Right at the moment, we have more jobs listed in Australia than we have people on what we call the dole, on benefits, on government handout. So, and they want to lift up the new government, which is, so we're opposite down here. We've got to remember that. So I'm a Liberal, so we're opposite. Liberal and Labor are opposite down in Australia.
Yep.
So our new Labor government wants to up the payments that people are getting now who are sitting at home on their bum doing nothing. They want to pay them more to sit at home and do nothing. So I just had enough and went, that's it. We can't get staff. We got tractor drivers around here on $35 an hour. So I made the decision. So I'm going back full-time farming. So, to go back around to, so what I'm doing, I'm actually just contracting myself out. So I charge $55 an hour and that's it. I send you an invoice at the end of the week for my time. and you get me, my ute and my tools. You don't have to pay any superannuation. They don't have to pay any PYAG tax on the wages. They don't have to pay any workers' comp because I'm actually a private contractor. I just rock up, do the job. If I get hurt or if I'm sick, they don't have to pay me. So we charge a lot higher rate, but there are people charging a lot more than that too. So, yeah, so February will be interesting if when that's exactly when I'm going to try and get back for the Farm Top catch up at Kentucky again. But the plan this time is that I'm going to fly into Dallas instead of LA, and I've started to put a bit of a map together. So Corey Book, head down to his place and have a look there, and catch up with the TikTokers in Texas, and then do a bit of a trip up through PC Cotton up to Chuck. Want to go and have a catch up with Chuck, and then up into obviously through Cody, Bushels and Barrels, Tony, and then end up at the weekend before, try and end up at Mike and Kim's, and then from there we can head down to the week at the farm show.
Farm show, yeah.
That sounds fun. We'll be there.
Now, that just sounds like the trip I think a lot of us would like to make.
Yep.
Just to cruise around and meet the people that you talk to and see the different crops, see the different operations. Yeah.
You talked about this labor shortage, and Tanner and I shared a podcast with each other this last week of Mike Rose called The Way I Heard It.
Yep.
I can't remember what episode it was, but
280 something.
Yeah, but it's one of his latest ones that he put out about, what was that book? I can't remember the dang name of it. Labor Without Men or something like that.
Men Without Work?
Men Without Work.
Or Work Without Men?
Work Without Men. Yeah, something like that. And it sounds very similar to what you were talking about. There is just literally a pandemic of people that don't want to work or aren't skilled for the job. I think a lot of people during COVID found that they could do the same work they were doing for just as much or more money from home. And now they sit around in their pajamas and more power to them, I guess, if they're making money actually working. But like you said, a lot of people are just living off the government. You call them seekers. We have a lot of welfare type. As long as they go and look for a job, and there's a lot of ways around it, and they can prove they're looking for a job, they get unemployment.
Yep, exactly. Same here.
Yep.
Well, now they don't even have to prove that. They used to actually have to come down, and I ended up taking business cards off the front retail counter because they'd walk in or say, "Can you sign this? Have you got any jobs going?" I said, "Yeah, I actually do have a job going. Always got a job. There's a freaking broom out the back. Go and sweep the floor for us," or whatever. And they're like, "We don't want a job. We just want you to sign this to say we've applied for the job."
Yep.
And so I used to have business cards on the front counter. I've taken them away because they'd walk in and just pick up a business card and walk out. And that was enough proof that they could go back and say, "Oh, this is where I've been to apply for a job." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, get out." But now, because of COVID, they've taken that off and you don't even have to apply for jobs now.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a mate last night who rang up to see how I was going. And so he's a farmer out the road here, and he's also a contractor or a custom sprayer with 2 self-propelleds. And he rang up last night just for a chat to see how he's going and see how I was going. And he'd say Penny, his wife, was saying that just before the flood, 3:30 in the afternoon, she was in Coles getting some groceries, and there was a couple there with 2 young kids, and they were all in their pajamas at 3:30 in the afternoon. And Penn reckons it looks like they just got out of bed. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
So with that labor issue like we're having here, do you guys also have really bad inflation?
Yeah. Our interest rates are going through the roof, which is another reason why I'm closing the retail down, because it's just getting ridiculous. So we've had, what are we up? We're like 4.5% interest rate rise in the last 3 months. So what happens here when we get a Labor government, the interest rates, so in the 80s when Labor were in power, the interest rates went up to 18, 19%, and it broke a lot of people. So, Labor just loves spending money. And so we are getting inflation there. But the one thing that the labour shortage is doing is actually people who want to work are getting good money. So it's driving the price up of wages.
So you sold your business, or no, you shut it down. You didn't sell it, right?
Yep, no, I just shut it down. I just got home from the States and that's it. Closed the door. Spoke to my accountant and said,
who's going to supply the sprayer parts and the sprayers and all that?
It'll go back. There is another shop in town that does similar stuff, but everyone sort of just have to do the best they can. So if you've got a John Deere self-propelled, you pretty much are not going to get your parts that you need because and Case and Rogator, it's exactly the same. Because my brand that I sold was Miller Nitro. So we used to be the Hagee importer in Australia, so we used to sell those down here until John Deere brought them out. But now, if you go to John Deere, they don't have the Banjo product because it's not actually a John Deere product. If you go to Case, they don't carry Banjo product because it's not a Case product. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like I've actually had people ring up and beg and say, hey, I'll send our farm staff in to help. But you just can't do that. It's one of those things that the town now is going to be looking for those parts. But what will happen is that the people who do have those parts in town now, so I have a direct competition in town, they'll jack their prices up because they know that they're the only place in town where you can buy the part.
Right. That's just too bad. I actually have a question on the paper that we were going to ask you is, what do Aussies think of Americans? Because before you answered those questions, we had labor shortages. We've got record high inflation. We've got, dry weather. We're in an election year. We're trying to support Ukraine, right or wrong. And it sounds like you guys are all having the same issues.
Yeah, we're exactly the same. We've got exactly the same problem now. So, like I said, I'm a liberal, which is opposite to you. So don't hold that against me. So you've got Biden in power, and he's throwing money at Ukraine and whatever. We now have Albanese in power as our Prime Minister, and he's spending like a drunken sailor on a Friday night at a hookers bar. Mm-hmm. And we're throwing money at Ukraine the same. I just don't know why. We've got so much in Australia that could happen. And I'm going to step off topic a little bit here. Self-righteousness with people at the moment is really getting to me. These people who are climate change activists and whatever. So the Australian netball team had signed up a $15 million deal with a new sponsor. So they were $7 million in debt, and they got a new sponsorship deal. Now, just happens that Gina Reinhart, who's an absolute legend of a woman, her father started the mining industry in Australia. So she's got more money than God. And she bailed them out with a $15 million sponsorship deal. Now, the team stood there and said, we're not wearing a uniform with a mining company on it because we're against climate change, or we're for climate change. We're climate activists. And the same thing's just happened to one of our cricketers. I tell you what, you just play the sport. So she's pulled the $15 million, and everyone's backing her and saying, well done. So that team now,
I would agree.
You're saying, I'm not going to wear a sponsorship logo on my uniform because it's a mining company. So how about don't have a mobile phone, oil, don't get on a plane, oil, don't do any of that stuff, don't wear clothes. It's this self-righteousness that people have got at the moment is really getting to me and annoys the shit out of me.
It's funny because the next question after the question that I had on the paper is, what's your biggest pet peeve?
There it is.
And you just nailed it. It's like you've got the paper.
If I were her, I would move my money to sponsor the Wisconsin volleyball team.
Oh, jeez.
And it's happening in all. It's happening in all these. I don't know why they feel that these professional sports people feel that they need to do this. You're a sports person. Go and play sport. We don't give a shit about political side or what you think of it. Huri over in WA, he said, hey, Gina, we put it on Twitter and said, hey, Gina, how about you split the $15 million between all the small sporting clubs in Australia? Yeah. We'd be happy to take it. We'd be very happy to take it. Because out here to raise money for our small sporting clubs, your little local football club or gymnastics or whatever it is, you have a chook raffle or you rely heavily on sponsorship from local business. So for someone to offer 15 million and then get it thrown back at you, I think, split it up, share it around.
I think they say that the reason they do it is because they have a platform and they feel bad if they wasted their platform, with it. But in all reality, just play your sport. But I feel like we've seen less of that lately since maybe COVID, or maybe that's just because who's in office. But, we had the whole Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the national anthem.
Right.
But now it's almost a little bit of an opposite.
Nobody wanted to wear Nike clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I feel like people almost get shunned when they do that.
Right.
So
it flips.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, here, let's take a little quick pause here, Uppy. We now mixed that vodka with the good old Busch Light. So now we've got the butterscotch vodka.
Butterscotch Busch.
And until you moved your cup, it had bubbles. It looked like dish soap bubbles.
Yeah.
On the top of it.
Yeah, this is still Australian
it still
flood water.
Like pond water.
Yeah. So
all right.
Let's give it a try.
Bottoms up. That's not good.
No, I think I like the butterscotch vodka by itself.
That's really not good at all.
No.
I don't know.
Uppy's been with us on mixing stuff in Busch Light, so we got to get him some more Busch Light to mix, though.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's no good. That's the worst one?
Yuck.
It's not. I mean, it's edible or it's drinkable, but I'm not going to pour another one.
I would rather have chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk and Busch Light was actually pretty good.
Oh. I'm bummed.
I would rather just have the vodka and the butterscotch.
I'm really bummed. I thought this was going to be better than this.
And the one the show we did before this was the Atomic Fireballs, same way as the Werthers in the vodka with Busch Light, and that was good.
You're right.
Yeah, right.
And by the time that show comes out, we're already going to have Busch Light contacted saying this is your new holiday beer, so nobody can steal that idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I had great fun over there with all the trying different things with Travis but so tomato salsa and Busch Light, I wouldn't recommend that either.
Some of it's just to get a rise out of people.
Yes.
That was actually a really funny afternoon. We're sitting there. That was after the fish fry at the Burkhart's.
Yep.
And on the Sunday afternoon, and we were all a little bit hungover and whatever. And I thought poor Janae was actually going to bring up her lunch. She couldn't watch us there at one stage while Trav and I tried different things. So.
That's funny. Well, we try to play a game with every one of our guests. We're just discovering, thanks to our listeners, that we've got a family-friendly game of start, bench, or cut from the team. So if you think of a sport, I'm going to give you 3 items. They're not going to be related to sports. You have to decide which one you'd want to start in your starting lineup, which one is second best. I'm willing to keep him on my team, put him on the bench. Third, I'm cutting him. Never get to work with him again. So we'll see if we can get this new format to work here. Ketchup, mustard, mayo. Do you guys have those condiments in Australia?
Yeah, we call ketchup tomato sauce because that's what it is.
That's fair.
We're pretty logical here. It's ketchup tomato, so it's tomato sauce. Mustard, because I will put mustard on mustard number 1, ketchup, and then mayo. So I can go without mayo. Easy.
Okay.
Ditch mayo.
Corey?
I think I'm the same. Because I will actually put mustard on French fries sometimes before ketchup.
Mm.
I think I would flip-flop the mustard and the mayo. Because there's sometimes that I like putting the ketchup and the mayo together.
No, ketchup and mustard together is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ketchup and mustard. But even a sweet mustard to dip your chicken nuggets in.
Yeah. Like a Dijon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, what's the Grey Poupon, the old commercial, yeah.
Okay, so next one. Rum, whiskey, vodka.
Rum, vodka, whiskey.
So you're getting rid of the whiskey.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not a whiskey. Unless it's like a 30-year-old McCallum's or something like that, and I'll just have it on the straight up or just a bit of ice, very rarely. But, no, rum, So, yeah, I'm a rum drinker. I actually don't drink a lot of beer out here in Australia. I'm gluten intolerant. And
right.
so the Bush Light, I can drink that, no drama at all. Bush Light and Keystone, don't have a drama. But the beer out here does upset my tummy, so I drink a lot of spirits.
That's because the Bush Light is corn-based.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And
So I've actually just found a beer out here that's made out of sorghum or out of Milo. So I drink that.
okay, Corey.
So you didn't have any good bourbon when you were out here? Good whiskey?
No, I haven't. Marty Knoll gave me a
he's-
couple of bottles when we were down there in February.
Yep.
Kentucky bourbon, and I haven't opened them because I'm not a big bourbon drinker.
Yep.
I think too much of it as a teenager.
Yep.
But yeah.
I'm
He's
the
saving
same.
those.
I'm the same way, like with the crappier bourbons. But the bourbon that Marty gives you usually is very, very good. A lot higher quality. Marty has sent me some bottles as well, and Marty, shut your ears. But you put a little ice cube in it and you let it water down a little bit. Well, Marty would kick my butt if you heard me say that. Because he's a whiskey or a bourbon neat type of guy.
Right.
But he knows his shit when it comes to bourbon. And I tell you what, there is something. If you're not just looking to go out and, have a bunch of drinks, if you're just looking to sit down and chill out, I'm a bourbon guy now.
Yep.
I will go grab a half glass of bourbon, a couple ice cubes, rather than I will actually go
I
grab
agree.
6 beers.
Yep. I'm the same way. So I would probably ditch the rum.
Yeah, I don't need rum. That's
Yeah.
a college drink for me. I mean, it's too sweet for me.
Well, Uppy, we know that we're.
I got to run, fellas.
Yep.
This has been fantastic. I've got a 10:30 time slot booked to get across the flood, so I need to meet that. I've got to get to the airport. This has been fantastic again. Absolutely love you guys. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
Absolutely. We appreciate you jumping
Thank
on.
you, Uppy.
Hey, happy spirits. Keep your head up. You know you've got support from the U.S.
Yep, I do. Very much know that, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I don't know whether my phone rings, whether it's a text message or there's a phone call. I don't know whether it's going to be one of my friends from America or someone up the road. It's fantastic. It's awesome. So, anyway.
We'll see you in February.
You
See
bet.
you in February.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Uppy.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Well, there you go. That is another great conversation. We could talk to Uppy forever.
I love Uppy.
I think a lot of people love Uppy, which is fantastic. So, listeners, we also love you. We thank you for spending time with us, getting to spend some time, getting some perspective from Australia. Remember, if you've got ideas, send them to farm4profitllc@gmail.com or any of our social media platforms. Get over to YouTube. I don't care if you don't watch YouTube videos, but if you are listening right now and you love our shows this much, go hit subscribe. It's not going to hurt you,
No, doesn't hurt you at all.
but it'll help us.
Yep. And you can also call, leave us a voicemail or text 515-207-9640. So with that, I say, crack a Bush Light, keep the Werther's Originals out of it. You deserve it.